Now, after a report published by the Sex Education Forum last week suggested teachers should introduce lessons about sexting from the age of 11 and pornography from the age of 14, we're asking, should children be taught about porn at school?
Well, journalist Ali Einstein believes that we need to go much further and that children should be educated about porn from the age of 5.
Sonia Poulton argues that 5 is far too young and is horrified at the thought of teachers talking about pornography to her children. So, who is right?
If you want to get involved in this debate, then go to our website and you can vote and alter our interactive worm. Welcome, both of you. So I'll just go through what prompted this chat here. The Sex Education Forum is a coalition of more than 90 organisations, including the NSPCC and Barnardo's, established to campaign for better lessons in this subject. And on Thursday, they released their first edition of their online publication, the Sex Educational Supplement. And then Lucy Emerson, the coordinator of this forum, said, teachers have told us they are nervous about mentioning pornography, yet given the ease with which children are able to access explicit sexual content on the internet, it is vital that teachers can respond to this reality appropriately. Does it seem sensible?
Absolutely. I think that it's very important that we start educating our children about sex and about pornography. We need to give them a baseline in the curriculum that tells them what pornography is so that they can be aware of it. Many parents have problems talking about the birds and the bees. I think we as a community need to come together and give our children the tools, because the media and social platforms that pornography is available on, Twitter, it's available on iPhones, it's available on your phone, it's available,
on all smartphones,
and it's 2 clicks away. The children are 2 clicks away. Unless we give our children the tools to recognise what pornography is so that they can go to their teachers or their parents and talk about it, then we are not giving them the right things they need to get through their education.
Sonia, you've spoken many times on here before about protecting a childhood, looking after children, preserving that special, unique time. So this really does go against everything that you believe in.
It does. I mean, you're absolutely right. For about 12 years, since my daughter was the same age as Ali's daughter now, and my daughter was about 3, it suddenly struck me, I was raising her in a highly sexualised environment. And it was like, OK, how do I protect her from this? But my problem about this whole idea of bringing porn into our schools is why, rather than going along with it, why aren't we actually saying, no, we're rejecting this? It's time that we as a society say we are highly sexualising our children. We have what is effectively pop porn, where we see pop stars masturbating on stage, doing all manner of things. And it's totally unacceptable. You know, little girls in tight T-shirts and everything. It's totally unacceptable. And what we need to do is start rolling things back.
I don't think that's appropriate. I think
what we need to do is we not only need to roll back, but we need to reclaim their childhood. That's what we need to do.
We can't do that. We have to
face reality. Just to pop in, I mean, I sort of can't defend all pop stars. I certainly didn't go to that concert that you were talking about. At what point did they get away with that sort of behaviour?
Well, it's been going on.
You might talk. You're talking about simulation.
I am talking about simulation.
So you're talking about sexy moves. But you're talking about sexy moves. The sexy moves that the Beatles did in the 60s created outrage.
Yes, it did. It did. But it's slightly different to what the Beatles did to what Nicki Minaj and Rihanna and Lady Gaga are doing.
We're talking about pornography within schools.
We are talking about... So the point is, though, Ali, your attitude is, it's in the environment, so let me hand my child over to it. My attitude is, it's in the environment, let me fight it with everything I've got. And the thing is,
but you can't protect your children. I'm sorry,
but that's not true. But that's not true, because yours is so inferior at the moment.
Let me speak for a minute. How many icons that we have today, Kim Kardashian, Paris Hilton, they're icons to children. They've all done porn tapes, they've all done sex tapes. Children think, well, maybe that's the correct thing to do. We need to give our children the tools in the school environment in which they have a baseline, and we need to start protecting them that way. You cannot tell me your daughter is never going to view porn until the age of 18.
My daughter is educated by me. My daughter is educated by me.
Ali, stop for a second. When is the correct age? When do you start to include this in your family life?
When they come to you. My daughter asked me at the age of 2.5, her first question was, how did Daddy put me inside of you? Did he cut you? That was her first question. And I thought, OK, this is our opening. From that point onwards, we have discussed everything. I'm far from a frumpy mum. We have discussed everything.
But you may have that relationship, but there are thousands of children out there that don't. And I think it's disrespectful to say to our teachers that they're not invested in this sort of curriculum, because my mother was a teacher teacher for 40 years, and I think those teachers out there who will be teaching this curriculum will have set strict guidelines, and they are hugely invested because you let them teach you.
It's ridiculous.
So they're not allowed to teach them maths. They're not allowed to teach them their biology. They do that all the time.
We know for a fact that children are leaving school unable to read and write, but we want to teach them about porn. Now,
no, we want to give them the tools to recognise.
Do you know why the education system was set up? The education was set up, and it hasn't changed its model at all.
Children
you're both talking at the same time. You have to listen to each other.
Okay, the education system was set up effectively to stop factories and the workplace. Now, unless you're actually planning on being, and it hasn't changed in terms of its structure, now, unless you're actually planning on being a porn star, what is the point of that? But apart from anything else...
We need to protect our children. We need
You're not protecting them.
I'm sorry.
No,
I'm not. I'm sorry. We need to protect our children. We need to say to our children, this is what sex is, this is what pornography is. In a class environment, these teachers that are going to be teaching it are going to be the best of the best. They're going to give...
Let me ask you a question.
It's not nipple tassels 101. I'm sorry, it's not.
It's about diversity and what's good. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever interviewed survivors of child abuse?
Yes, and I have. Have you ever interviewed children who are 10 years old, girls who are wearing different coloured bangles, which indicate to boys what sexual acts they've done? Because they haven't been given the education.
You've given up on children.
No, I haven't. I haven't given up on children.
Yes,
I am out there advocating that for the school system, we need to protect our children.
It is not for the school system to be educating our children in this way. Not at all.
Sex is on the agenda.
Are you not burying your head in the sand slightly?
No, not
on my watch. I'm
absolutely no, absolutely not at all. What I'm saying is that I am more than aware of all of the problems that we have in the state system where children have been abused, and we want to start shoving porn into schools as well.
Sorry, we're not shoving porn in their faces.
Let me talk you through, ladies. Let me talk you through the lesson structure that they're discussing here. Now, this publication includes lesson ideas for each age group, with suggestions that pupils should know how airbrushing in the media creates unrealistic body expectations. Very young, at about 5, they're discussing that, suggesting. 11-year-olds should be taught the dangers of sexting. Older pupils, aged 14 and upwards, should tackle real and unreal behaviour in pornography. In the report, pupils said the subject of pornography should be mentioned, this is pupils, in the first year of secondary school for 11 and 12-year-olds because that is the average age that pornography gets viewed.
Absolutely, and I think it's important that we as a community, because it does take a village, I'm sorry about this.
Of course it takes a village.
It takes a village to protect our children.
Yes, it does.
And we need to give them the tools. So we need to say, this is wrong,
your child,
this is right.
Yes. Your child here, let's just this sort of, goes to school, is 11 or 12.
Yes.
You're saying that I don't want anyone to discuss that with them.
Yes.
Will you have dealt with pornography yourself?
I already have.
Already done.
And not only for my own child, but also for some of her friends, when the parents came to me and said, you find it really easy to discuss sex with children.
What's the difference between you doing and a teacher doing it?
What is the difference?
I'm her mother.
Children.
Oh, because they trusted me. They trusted me much more.
Do you not trust your teachers then? So
I don't trust teachers to have conversations about pornography with my child.
I think that's disrespectful of all the teachers out there who are giving thousands and thousands.
Let me just ask you this question. You said right at the beginning of our chat that some parents find it very difficult to discuss the birds and bees.
Absolutely.
Those parents will certainly have a view on what we're talking about now. So if you're going to have a view on this, surely you should pull yourself together. I know it's embarrassing. Have the talk with your children.
Absolutely.
The teachers shouldn't necessarily be forced into having the conversations that you as a parent should be having.
But the teachers are not being forced into doing it. This is part of sex education. We are living in 2013, and it's absolutely critical that we address this issue. Children can access porn from as young as 5 or younger on their iPads, on their phones, on computers. We need to take a responsible stance in our schools. And if the parents can't have the conversation,
you have to say also, if your child is accessing porn at the age of 5, you're failing as a parent.
I absolutely agree with that. I absolutely agree with that. However, the children need to be given the information to know that that's wrong. They need to know that they can view porn or go and buy porn when they're 18. But if a child isn't given information, then they won't know what they're doing. If they're sexting,
what age would you introduce it?
I think I would have a conversation about porn being wrong with my 5-year-old, and then at 11. And I think it's important. Yes, I do. Because
pornography to a 5-year-old?
I think it would terrible. I think it would be frightening.
No, I'm not taking away their childhood. I'm saying there are some images.
But I think it would be frightening. I mean, sometimes if I'm in the kitchen with Dan and
very
gives me
positive.
kids
No,
in
you've
trouble.
given up.
Sometimes
Ali,
Harry's
I
a bit
have
like,
not given up.
You've
No,
given
I
up.
have
Yes, you've
not
given up on parenting.
You're burying your head in the sand.
Oh,
You won't
hardly.
face reality.
No, not at all, not at all. Because
So
the
you're
truth
saying
is,
your daughter...
yours is all theory. You've got a 3-year-old, I've got a
I've also
15-year-old.
raised-
I'm
I've
the
also
one
helped
who sees
co-parent
13-year-olds on
11-year-olds.
Facebook talking about, you know, giving oral sex. That's what I see.
Yes.
And you know why?
You know-
Because they're raised by mothers like you.
No.
Who take their foot off the pedal.
I have
Okay.
Yes.
I'm sorry. That's,
Yes.
Ladies.
that is an attack. You shouldn't
Yes.
really be attacking me
No,
like that.
I don't think that's fair either. Right,
I've-
ladies,
I've-
we're going
It's
to
I've
a
been
reality.
upset. No.
It's a
Okay,
reality.
stop.
I've fought against
Stop.
these kind of
You've had your
bad
say.
parenting.
You've got to
I'm
stop.
sorry.
You have to stop.
I've helped co-parent 11-year-old twins. I know exactly
You
what...
both
Good
have
for
to
you.
stop.
We're going to
Thank
have
you.
Let's just see what everybody thought at home. Who
Just
they
going to say,
agree with.
for any further help or advice on anything that we've discussed, sort of, have a look at our website. You can see that the worm here says, should children be taught about porn in schools? No. 80% are with Sonia on this one. And so, so do you think we've reached a reasonable conclusion there?
Sure, I'm a bit scared.
Oh, don't be scared.
No, I'm not. I can see both
Positive
sides.
debate is
I know
important in
it's
the
very
community.
good. Of course, absolutely. And thank you both.
We've got to
Pleasure.
throw to a commercial break, so once we go to the break, then I suggest
Off the
I'm
back of the
bolting that
sofa.
way.
Okay.
Right,
Still to come down to Daisy and a fish game masterclass. Thank goodness for that. Let's go to the break.